Who is Iblis and why did he not prostrate to man? Iblis said that he loves God more than anyone, so why did he disobey God's order? In this video, we will try to know more about Iblis. Overview of Iblis. Iblis is a figure frequently mentioned and appearing in the Quran, commonly in relation to the creation of Adam and the command to prostrate himself before him. After he refused, he was cast out of heaven. Iblis being an angel was generally accepted among classical scholars, while most contemporary scholars insist he always had been a jinn. The story regarding his fall from grace, he is often compared to Satan in Christian traditions. In Islamic tradition, Iblis is identified with al-shaitan, the devil, often followed by the epithet al-rajim, the accursed. However, while shaitan is exclusively used for an evil force, Iblis himself holds a more ambivalent role in Islamic traditions. Iblis rules over the demons known as the jinn, where his court is held within the city of Jinnistan. His exact rank in the demonic hierarchy is not known, but he reports directly to both Lucifer and Satan. Other sources claim that he was part of Lucifer's rebellion, and was present during his rally as well as the construction of Pandemonium. Despite this uncertainty of origin, the Lord of the Jinn is arguably one of the most loyal demons serving under the morning star, or so it was said. Appearance of Iblis. Iblis' appearance before he fell was said to be unique and grand even amongst the ranks of the jinn. Several Islamic scholars state that he has 7 hairs on his chin and was blind in his right eye. In his female form, Iblis appears in dark-skinned woman dressed in clothing akin to a belly dancer. She has yellow eyes with a third eye in the center of her forehead and her body seems to naturally exude flames. Similarly to Lucifer before his fall, he was majestic and great to behold with power exceeding that of his peers. After his fall from the heavens, Iblis' body is composed entirely of molten magma, or brimstone, and frost that varies between forms. His original form was a giant, swirling ball of flames. Several Islamic scholars state that when he comes in human shape, he has 7 hairs on his chin with a menacing grimace and smoldering embers for eyes. He was also blind in his right eye after Idris jabbed a needle into it. After being released, Iblis' form grew tremendously and sprouted 4 arms with an armored head of molten rock. His second form consisted of a giant serpent-like body while retaining the armored, ripped-up head. His final and most powerful form appears to be larger than the previous forms, but has a more human shape. He has 2 arms, legs, which have no feet, and his head becomes less armored. However, he grows horns on both sides of his head and back, where he also grows a tail. Personality of Iblis. Iblis seems to hold disdain towards Nephilim. Powers and abilities. Iblis can generate a special type of fire inside his body and then spray it out of his mouth. This fire is even more powerful and dangerous than the infamous hellfire of the infernal kingdom and incinerates everything in its path. Iblis can throw blasts of dark fire that can harm the spiritual body of his target. Due to his power, Iblis is able to control brimstone, the very material that covers hell, to his own will though to a limited degree. He can manifest it in the form of gas and then insert it into the opponent's body as to poison them, which usually ends in death. He can also manifest in walls to protect himself from attacks. As a high-ranking demon, Iblis is able to manipulate hellfire in various ways and forms. Iblis can control and produce hellish magma that can melt even the material of heaven. With this magma, he can launch magma balls to pelt his enemies with demonic fire and summon magma tides that shallow all those around him, including his own servants. An attack exclusive to him, Iblis can set fire sparks to a large area and then make the flames explode with hellfire, which can incinerate entire armies in one attack. This was strong to harm even the greater deities of various pantheons, such as Indra from the Hindu pantheon. Iblis creates a condensed ball of fire towards his target, which then explodes when struck. He can control the directions that these balls can go, giving them some homing properties. Divine beginnings of Iblis. Iblis was an angelic jinn created by God out of vril, or simply smokeless fire, who was once known as Azazil. He stood out amongst the jinn as being unique in appearance and power, but regardless, he was no different in the eyes of heaven when it came to how they viewed the jinn. When the angels took prisoners, Iblis was one of them and carried them to heaven. Since he, unlike the other jinn, was pious, the angels were impressed by his nobility, and Iblis was allowed to join the company of angels and elevated to their rank. However, although he had the outer appearance of an angel, he was still a jinn, in essence, thus he was able to choose in terms of free will. After being elevated to the ranks of the angels, Iblis became a leader and teacher of his own choir of angels, and a keeper of heaven. God gave him authority over the lower heavens and the earth. Iblis is also considered the leader of those angels who battled the Jann. Therefore, Iblis and his army drove these ancient jinn to the edge of the world, Mount Kaf. The jinn, in response, regarded Iblis as a traitor to their own kind and accused of him of slithering his way into the ranks of heaven mainly to avoid persecution at the hands of the angels. Rebelling in heaven. When God created Adam, he ordered all the angels and jinn to bow before the new creation. All the angels and jinn bowed down, but Iblis refused to do so. Knowing about the corruption of the former earthen inhabitants, Iblis protested. When he was instructed to prostrate himself before the new earthen inhabitant, that is Adam. He assumed that the angels who praise God's glory day and night are superior in contrast to the mud-made humans and their bodily flaws. He even regarded himself noble and superior in comparison to the other angels, since he was, one of those, created from fire, while man came only from clay. However, he was degraded by God due to his exhibition of pride and disobedience. As punishment for his haughtiness, God banished Iblis from heaven and condemned him to hell. But Iblis requested to prove that he is right, therefore God entrusted him as a tempter for humanity as long as his punishment endures, concurrently giving him a chance to redeem himself. As a result, his punishment was postponed until Judgment Day, when he and his host will have to face the eternal fires of hell. God also warned him that he will have no power over God's truest servants. King of Jinnistan. Despite the circumstances of his eternal imprisonment within hell, he became a demon serving under the reign of Lucifer, and even joined the Stygian Council, taking the name Iblis as a king of hell, specifically the ruler of Jinnistan, the infernal city of the jinn, and became the spiritual enemy of the Islamic faith. He had the merit build a glorious palace known as Shadu Kayam to mirror the infernal majesty of Pandemonium, the capital city of hell. Iblis was said to have ordered the building of the palace to elevate himself in equal authority to Lucifer himself. His exact rank in the demonic hierarchy is not known, but he reports directly to the 7 princes of hell, a circumstance he is not too fond of as he hates the idea of a great jinn such as he reporting his status and findings like a common subject. Moreover, Iblis's damnation is clear and he and his host are the first who enter hell to dwell therein forever, when he is not killed in a battle by the Mahdi, an interpretation especially prevalent among Shia Muslims. Earthly exploits. As his first demonic act, Iblis, referred to in this context as shaitan. Disguised as the Hatif, the mysterious voice of Arab mythology, Iblis also tempted Muhammad's son-in-law, unsuccessfully trying to keep him from performing the ritual washing of the Prophet's dead body. Another tale involves how he lost his right eye. Iblis once came to the Prophet Idris, who was a tailor, with an egg in his hand and told him that God had shaped the world like an egg. Idris was enraged by this blasphemous talk and answered, "No, God made the world like the eye of this needle. Look here." When Iblis looked at the needle, the Prophet thrust it into his eye and blinding him forevermore. Myth and legends. Iblis is an Islamic figure and a jinn created by Allah from fire rather than light. While often seen as the Islamic counterpart to the Christian Satan, Iblis does not play the role of adversary like in Christianity, as Islam rejects the notion of Satan being an opponent to God. Rather, Iblis is seen as the greatest sinner due to his refusal to bow to Adam when he was created by Allah. He was banished from heaven to hell for his disobedience but later asked Allah for permission to lead Adam and his descendants astray, which Allah granted, but warned Iblis that he did not have any power over his servants. When God created Adam, he ordered all the angels and jinn to bow before the new and greatest creation. All the angels and jinn bowed down, yet Iblis refused to do so. He argued that since he himself was created from fire, he is superior to humans, made from clay mud, and that he should not prostrate himself before Adam. As punishment for his haughtiness, God banished Iblis from heaven and condemned him to hell. Thus, Iblis was thrown out from heaven, cursed by God till the day of judgment, and Iblis asked for respite till the day the dead are raised, which God granted him respite till the day, which Iblis said that the Lord put me in the wrong, by your power. I shall lead them all astray, throwing man off the straight path, till the end, and God stated that if any humans follow Iblis, they shall be thrown into hell with Iblis, 7 gates for the type of sin the humans have committed. For this reason he is seen as an equivalent to Satan/Lucifer. Iblis has long been a figure of speculation among Muslim scholars, who have been trying to explain the ambiguous identification of Iblis in the Quran as either angel or jinn, a contradiction in terms, as angels are created of light and are incapable of sin, while jinn are created of mist. Traditions on this point are numerous and conflicting. Iblis was simply a jinn who inappropriately found himself among the angels in heaven. He was an jinn sent to earth to do battle with the rebellious jinn who inhabited the earth before man was created. Iblis was himself one of the terrestrial jinn captured by the angels during their attack and brought to heaven. Sufism. Sufism developed another perspective of Iblis' refusal by regarding Muhammad and Iblis as the two true monotheists. Therefore, some Sufis hold, Iblis refused to bow to Adam because he was devoted to God alone and refused to bow to anyone else. By weakening the evil in the satanic figure, dualism is also degraded, that corresponds with the Sufi cosmology of unity of existence rejecting dualistic tendencies. The belief in dualism or that evil is caused by something else than God, even if only by one's own will, is regarded as shirk by some Sufis. For Iblis' preference to be damned to hell, than prostrating himself before someone else other than the beloved, here referring to God, Iblis also became an example for unrequited love. A famous narration about an encounter between Moses and Iblis on the slopes of Sinai, told by Mansur al-Hallaj, Rusbihan Bakli and Ghazali, emphasizes the nobility of Iblis. Accordingly, Moses asks Iblis why he refused God's order. Iblis replied that the command was actually a test. Then Moses replied, obviously Iblis was punished by being turned from a jinn to a devil. Iblis responds, his form is just temporary and his love towards God remains the same. However, not all Sufis are in agreement with a positive depiction of Iblis. Rumi's viewpoint on Iblis is much more in tune with Islamic orthodoxy. Rumi views Iblis as the manifestation of the great sins of haughtiness and envy. He states, cunning, intelligence is from Iblis, and love from Adam. Iblis represents the principle of one-eyed intellect. He only saw the outward earthly form of Adam, but was blind to the divine spark hidden in him, using an illicit method of comparison. Hassan of Basra holds that Iblis was the first who used analogy, comparing himself to someone else, this causing his sin. Iblis therefore also represents human psyche moving toward sin or shows how love can cause envy and anxiety. Quotes of Iblis. Humans are weak. They believe in false hope and stand on the edge of despair and not even realize it until they have fallen. Trust me, I don't need any power and sorcery to taint mankind. All I need is a whisper, single thought inside their mind, and they will do the rest for me. Iblis. Do you know why God cast me out of heaven? Because I loved him. More than anything. And then he created you, you little, hairless apes, and he asked us to bow down before you, to love you more than him. And I said, Father, I can't. These human beings are flawed, murderous. And for that, God cast me into hell. Tell me, Black, does the punishment fit the crime? Especially when I was right. Look what 7 billion of you have done to this planet. And how many of you blame me for it? Iblis to Karl Black. If I win 3 things from the son of Adam, I will have earned what I wanted from him. if he forgets his sins, thinks high of his actions, and becomes fond of his opinion. Iblis. Eternal Son. The living flame that has been entrusted to the royal family. Fall into slumber with my soul, Iblis. You cursed flames of disaster. An Abrahamic priest to Iblis during ancient Islamic times. I am better than him, you created me from burning fire, and him from tainted clay. Iblis to God. Get you down from here, as it is not for you to be arrogant on. Get out, for you are of the most malevolent of creatures. God's reply to Iblis. If you are satisfied with the video and would like to see more videos on these topics, please follow us.